Ever feel, swamped by just endless information, or maybe a bit disconnected from something deeper in this, well, incredibly busy world? Yeah, you're definitely not alone if you feel that way. Today, we're doing something a bit unique. We're diving deep into a really, I found them compelling set of notes and insights. And these aren't just like academic thoughts, they're very focused on how to actually foster genuine spiritual connection and clarity. So, our mission today is to unpack the practical wisdom, the sort of motivational examples these pages hold. And honestly, what jumped out at me, what I'm genuinely excited to explore, is this really powerful idea, this concept of a divine voice being accessible, and, how we can learn to actually discern truth amidst so many conflicting messages out there. So if you've been feeling tired, maybe uncertain, or just, spiritually disconnected, this deep dive really aims to offer some clarity and hopefully encouragement directly to you.
That's so true. That desire, the human desire for connection, for guidance, it's timeless, isn't it? And it often gets even stronger in complex times like right now. What's really fascinating about this material we're looking at is that it doesn't just talk about connection. It offers a very direct, almost actionable perspective on how to achieve it. It makes this, well, radical suggestion that clear, personal divine communication isn't just, possible, but it's actually intended for you.
Okay, let's unpack that radical idea right at the top. The notes make this incredibly bold foundational statement, and I'm quoting it directly here. You can hear his voice, and he still speaks to his people, especially in these days.
Yeah. Now, for many people, that's a pretty mind-blowing idea. What does hearing really mean here? Is it like an audible voice or maybe something more subtle? Yeah, that's crucial to understand, isn't it? The material isn't necessarily talking about, an actual sound hitting your eardrum. It emphasizes that this voice is often more like a clear inner knowing, or perhaps a strong impression, a powerful insight that sort of guides you. It's about a direct, personal communication that feels somehow distinct from your own thoughts, like a deep conviction that points you down a certain path. The core takeaway, I think, is that this kind of communication isn't supposed to be some complex ritual. It's about simple, direct accessibility.
So it's less about a literal sound and more about a kind of profound internal recognition that completely reframes the experience for someone who might feel spiritually disconnected, doesn't it? It moves it from something kind of abstract, maybe out there, to something deeply personal and intuitive. And to back that up, the notes point to a scripture many will know, John 10:27, my sheep hear my voice. What's compelling about how this perspective interprets that verse?
Exactly. Many of you listening probably know that verse. But what's really compelling about how this material uses it isn't just as a general affirmation. It's the radical assertion that this intimate connection, this direct ability to hear, isn't exclusive. It's not just for a select few prophets. No, it's presented as universally available, intended for everyone who genuinely seeks it out. The main obstacle these notes suggest is often just, well, not expecting to hear. It's about shifting your whole mindset to actually anticipate that guidance.
That's powerful, shifting from striving, maybe trying really hard, to actually expecting. And right alongside that possibility, the material offers such a comforting message reminding us, you were never meant to do this alone. It's about being guided. Which naturally leads us to the next really vital question. How do we make sure we're following the right guidance? How do we know?
Right, and this is where the wisdom in these notes truly shines, I think. Once you start trying to tune in, the next crucial step is discerning truth from deception. These notes highlight Isaiah 30.21. This is the way, walk in it. Not just as some command, but as describing an internal compass. It suggests that this way is often felt internally, a kind of resonance of truth that contrasts with other impulses or voices. It's presented as a process of internal alignment, almost like honing a skill, where through practice you learn to distinguish that clear signal from all the other static.
So it's about developing an inner discernment, a way to tell the difference. How do these notes suggest someone actually practices this? What helps differentiate that divine leading from, say, just wishful thinking, or maybe even external pressures pushing us?
That's where the material talks about what it calls spiritual leading, and it contrasts that directly with other inclinations, our own desires maybe. It's a bit like the distinction you see in Galatians 5, verses 16 to 17, which talks about walking by the Spirit versus just, giving in to the flesh or our own unguided impulses. These notes imply that by really tuning into that divine voice, you start to develop a subtle intuition, almost like a spiritual palate, you could say, something that helps you discern what truly aligns with truth. It's about recognizing that internal yes or no that resonates with a higher purpose rather than just your immediate want.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, I think, especially for anyone looking for a tangible example. The notes shift focus to a fascinating historical figure, Enoch. He's presented not just as, some guy in history, but as a deeply motivational example for exactly this kind of intimate connection we're talking about.
Indeed. And the simplicity of that verse in Genesis 5.24, Enoch walked with God, as these notes highlight. It sounds simple, but it speaks to a lifetime of profound, consistent, active intimacy. It wasn't about grand, flashy gestures. It was about sustained presence, day in, day out. Hebrews 11, verses 5 and 6, expands on this. It says that without faith, it is impossible to please God.
Mhm.
So Enoch's walk wasn't just, physically strolling around. It was one of deep trust and faith, which led to a life that was pleasing to the divine. He really serves as this powerful illustration of how intimacy and faith are deeply intertwined. He shows that a deep, active relationship is entirely possible.
Right. And the notes explicitly frame Enoch's story to be a motivational example of walking with Yahweh in intimacy and faith.
Mhm.
But let's be real, for an everyday person juggling work, family, just modern life, how does this perspective suggest bridging that gap, between Enoch's profound example and our own daily spiritual practice? Does it risk feeling like an impossible ideal, or is there a practical pathway suggested here?
That's a really vital question. And I think the beauty of how Enoch's story is presented here is that it sort of demystifies walking with God. It's not presented as escaping your life, but about inviting divine presence into your daily life, right where you are. These notes really emphasize that this kind of profound intimacy isn't reserved just for ancient prophets or special figures. It's accessible to you right now, reminding you with this really uplifting language that you are loved, chosen, and not alone. It's meant to be incredibly encouraging, not overwhelming.
Yeah, that encouragement really comes through. And to tie all this together, these notes weave in that central message of hope using Jeremiah 29.11, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. So this isn't just about hearing a voice in isolation, it's about the deep purpose and the future that voice actually brings into your life.
Absolutely. That promise connects so deeply to the overall uplifting and encouraging tone these materials aim for. It speaks specifically to those who are feeling tired or uncertain right now. The entire point of this material, it seems, is to leave people feeling encouraged, seen, and spiritually recharged. It's about more than just, getting information. It's aiming for a fundamental renewal of spirit and finding direction again.
So let's try and summarize. What does this all mean for us listening today? From this deep dive, we've sort of unpacked this profound possibility of clear divine communication. We've explored some practical ideas, maybe tools for discerning truth in what feels like a chaotic world. And we've drawn inspiration from Enoch's really powerful example of walking in faith and intimacy. It really seems to be about a journey of recognition and then response.
And the practical application, the enduring relevance of this message, it seems pretty clear. It's really an invitation to a deeper, more guided life, for personal growth, for spiritual well-being, just understanding that you are not meant to navigate life's complexities all alone, and that guidance is accessible. That fundamentally shifts your perspective and, well, your potential. It's about moving from feeling maybe overwhelmed to feeling truly seen and supported.
And these notes, they offer what feels like a gentle call to action. It's not presented as a command from us, but as practical encouragement suggested by the source itself for strengthening your spiritual connection. Things like dedicated prayer, finding moments of actual stillness, maybe regularly reading the Word, and simply taking that bold step of asking Yahweh to speak. It's really about creating that sacred space, that quiet space to listen, whether that's through quiet reflection or seeking wisdom in ancient texts. So maybe as you go about your day, just consider this. If clear, accessible divine guidance truly is intended for you, what profound impact could simply taking a few moments to intentionally listen actually have on your life, especially when you genuinely believe that you can hear that divine voice, even amidst all the noise? What insights might just be waiting there for you?